Good day, beautiful people. Today we will take a look at your quality assurance in the clinical laboratory. Please note that your quality assurance, this is the backbone of your clinical laboratory operations. It is actually, or it represents the laboratory's commitment to producing results that clinicians can trust. When you say assurance, you are producing a confident, a true, a trusted result. Anyway, the quality assurance again, it represents the commitment of the laboratory to produce results that clinicians or physicians can trust for diagnosis, treatment, and monitoring of the patient's health. And please note that because you are being groomed to be a future laboratorians in the future. Okay, quality assurance is actually a core concept that you should know. Anyway, let's define laboratory quality. Please note that your laboratory quality, this is the accuracy, the reliability, and timeliness of reported test results. And please note that the laboratory results must be accurate as possible. Again, laboratory results must be accurate as possible. All the aspects of the operations in the laboratory must be reliable and reporting must be timely in order for it to be useful in a clinical or public health setting. Why is this so? Because if the result is delayed, please note, if the result is delayed, then it may affect, okay, the management of the patient. If the result is delayed, it may affect the management of the patient. Of course, if the result is inaccurate, okay, if the result is inaccurate or it is wrong, okay, if the result is inaccurate or if it's wrong, then somewhat it may affect also the management of the patient. Maybe the physician will provide, the will give, because again, as we said last time, medical decisions are actually made from laboratory results. That is why if you are producing or releasing inaccurate or incorrect laboratory results, then it may affect the outcomes of the patients. How the physician may prescribe the wrong medicine or the wrong drug. What else? Okay, the physician may admit or the physician may misdiagnose the patient somewhat. Anyway, your assurance here, when you say assurance in the clinical laboratory, this one is the confidence. Okay, it is the confidence. You are confident. Okay, when you say assurance, quality assurance, you're confident about your processes. You're confident that all your processes, the systems, what else, the personnel, okay, again, you're confident that the personnel, the system, the process, they consistently produce accurate, reliable, and high quality result. Okay, and your quality, or sorry, your assurance, you're actually promising that the laboratory meets defined the meets the defined standards of performance. You are confident, okay? You are promising, okay, and producing, yes, you are promising that the laboratory meets defined standards of performance. That is for your assurance. Okay, when you say assurance again, it is the promise and the evidence that you or your institution or that the laboratory, your laboratory institution meets the defined standards of performance accordingly. That is for quality assurance. And please note that it is not just promising. Okay, as what we said, there is an evidence. Please note that assurance, what is the promise is actually demonstrated by a documented, monitored, and continuously evaluated process. So, in assurance, it means that every step of the testing process is designed, implemented, and verified to prevent errors and to protect the patient safety. That is for quality, as that is for your assurance. That is for your assurance. You are not just promising. You are not just promising. Okay? You are, what do you call this? There is an evidence that the promise is being done. There is an evidence that the promise is being done. How? They are documented. Everything is on paper. Okay, everything is on paper. That is for your. So when you say quality assurance, okay, when you say quality assurance, please note that your quality assurance, that is a systematic organization-wide program that is designed to ensure that all laboratory results are accurate, reliable, and timely. Okay, again, quality assurance, it is a systematic organization-wide that is designed to ensure that all laboratory results are accurate, reliable, and timely. Okay, so you already know what your quality assurance means. Okay, sooner we will learn about the quality control and quality management system. Anyhow, let's take a look at this one by a look at your quality management. Your quality management system, this is a framework that documents how an organization manages its processes and procedures to meet daily goals. Again, your quality management system, this is a framework that documents how an organization manages its processes and procedures to meet quality goals accordingly. And again, when you say quality, that is a degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfill requirements. Okay, this is definition based on ISO 9001 2008. Okay, and please note that under quality management system, the goal is to be able to provide quality or high quality results at or high quality service at low cost accordingly. And under quality management system, you have the following: the quality assurance. Please note, under the umbrella of quality management system, you have somewhat branches. Okay, or components of quality management system. You have quality assurance, quality control, and quality improvement. Please note that all of this one, you have your QC, QA, QI. These are all concepts that fall under the umbrella of quality management, wherein the entire testing process is directed with the overall goal improving the accuracy of laboratory results. Again, the goal of your quality management is to be able to provide high quality service at low cost. And these are actually your components of quality management system. Please note that clinical laboratories, they produce test results that are widely used in the clinical and public health settings. And please note that health outcomes depends on the accuracy of the testing and reporting by the laboratory. Again, health outcomes depend on the accuracy of the testing and reporting by the laboratory institution. And please note, as what I've said earlier, health outcomes of the patient depends on the decision of the clinician, or depends on the decision of the the physician. And please note that the decision of the physician is based on the objective result, based on the laboratory result that is released by you as the laboratorian. Okay, so if you are releasing inaccurate results, okay, if you are providing inaccurate results, please note that the consequences can be very significant. Okay, the consequences can be very significant. Okay, these consequences may include unnecessary treatment, failure to provide the proper treatment, treatment complication, unnecessary treatment, instead that the patient be taking in just a pain reliever. Since you released an erroneous result, the patient, I mean the physician, added a prescription medicine somewhat. Okay, treatment complications, because please note that your drugs, they have side effects, they have adverse effects, and this may result into complications, into other health conditions somewhat. Okay, aside from those, failure to provide the proper treatment to the patient and delay in correct diagnosis, as well as additional and unnecessary diagnostic testing. Additional and unnecessary diagnostic testing if the doctor requested for a second opinion. Okay, what if the doctor requested for a retest? Okay, because of your erroneous result. Okay, so please note that laboratory errors cost in the following. Okay, please note that the major portion is patient outcomes. Patient outcomes. Okay, this is the one that is most affected. Okay, the one that is most affected. Patient outcomes. Okay, health outcomes of the patient. Okay, of course, the outcomes are based on the diagnosis, the treatment, okay, and the rest. Personal effort. Okay, effort of the personnel. Not only you as the laboratory, but also the physician. Someone that collected the result, I mean the specimen. Okay, then you have time. Please note time. Okay, you are also wasting time. Of course, so this one's laboratory errors may be prevented if there is a very effective quality management system in laboratory. These errors, okay, these errors, please note that this is the effect actually of the laboratory errors. The cost, okay, pinakamalaki, which is situated at the base of the pyramid, is this one. And please note that laboratory errors will be prevented with the effective and efficient implementation of quality management. Actually, an illustration showing you the connection between QC, QA, and QM. As what we said earlier, QC, QA, and QI, they fall under the umbrella of quality management. So, meaning quality management, mas malawak po ang law niya. It's a wider, okay, it has a wider operation. Anyway, when you say your QC, the focus of your quality control is the product. It's the product. When you say QA, the focus of the QA is the process. Okay, focus of the QA is the process. And your quality management, the focus of this is the performance. Okay, it is performance focused. Your QA is process focused, and your QC, it is product focused. Product focused. Goals of your quality assurance, please note that the goal is to extend beyond producing correct results, or the goal of your quality assurance is to extend beyond producing accurate results. And please note that QA aims to create a culture of quality within the clinical laboratory. Okay, so please note the goals. You have your quality assurance ensures accuracy and precision of results. Okay, they ensure that QA ensures that test results reflect the true patient condition. And of course, they are reproducible, that is, accurate and precise. Okay, what else? They maintain standardized procedures. Please note that quality assurance through the use of your standard operating procedures, training, and documentation, it minimizes variability between personnel, shifts, and instruments. Okay? Standardized procedures. You are following the same procedures. The personnel is following the same procedures. Okay? Then you are maintaining standardized process. Okay, minimizing variability between parameters. Okay, and of course, reduce errors across all phases. Okay, in quality assurance, it identifies errors or vulnerabilities in pre-analytical, analytical, and post-analytical steps by preventing mistakes can before they affect the patient care. And quality assurance improves patient outcomes through the release of reliable laboratory results that will lead to correct diagnosis and appropriate treatment of the patient. And of course, better monitoring. And yes, your QA promotes continuous quality improvement. It encourages quality assurance accordingly, encourages laboratories to analyze performance indicators, implement corrective actions, and refine processes over. Please note that quality assurance is composed of multiple interconnected elements that work together to maintain and improve laboratory performance. So here are the components of quality assurance. First on the list here is QC, or quality control. In quality control, this one monitors the analytical phase of testing. It measures the analytical phase of testing using control materials to detect random and systematic errors. Again, it monitors the analytical phase. Okay, the analytical phase using control materials to detect random and systematic errors. Your quality assessment here, it evaluates overall laboratory performance through audits, error tracking, turnaround time monitoring, and consumer feedback for quality assessment. And then you have your quality improvement. This one, quality improvement, uses data from quality control and quality assessment to improve corrective and preventive actions. Okay, again, quality improvement, it utilizes data from QC, from quality assessment to improve the correct to implement corrective action, preventive action, and redesign the workflow, and yes, enhance the efficiency of the laboratory. And then you have your proficiency testing, which is still part of your quality assurance. This is actually an external assessment, quality assessment. Proficiency testing is an external quality assessment where laboratories analyze unknown samples and compare results with peer groups to verify accuracy. Okay, that is for proficiency testing. Okay, you can either pass here or you can fail. And satisfactory or satisfactory for the proficiency testing. And then you have your SOPs, your standard operating procedures. These are written or written standardized instructions that ensure consistency, okay, to ensure standard procedures to reduce variability among personnel and to guide the personnel in performing tasks correctly. Okay, that is for your component of your quality assurance. At your path of workflow. Your path of workflow here is otherwise known as your testing process. Again, your path of workflow, this is the entire set of operations that occur during the testing process. I mean, that occur in testing. Okay, path of workflow, this is the entire set of operations that occur in testing accordingly. And please note that the path of work begins with the patient and ends with the reporting and the result interpretation. Okay, it begins with the patient. Okay, it begins with the patient and ends with reporting and the result interpretation. Okay, your path of workflow, this is the entire process of managing a sample. That is the entire process of managing a sample. Okay, so you have here your pre-examination phase, your examination phase, and your post-examination phase. Okay, so accordingly, in your pre-examination phase, these are things or activities that occur before the test is performed. Okay, your pre-examination phase, these are everything or it includes everything that occurs before the test is performed. Okay, so example, patient preparation, the fasting of the sample collection, those items. Okay, and accordingly, most laboratory errors occur at this phase. Most laboratory error occur in that phase. Okay, and then you have your examination phase. Your examination phase, that is the phase where the actual testing occurs. It is the phase where the actual testing occurs. Okay, please note, don't get confused of the terms examination, analytical, and testing. Okay, in examination phase, the focus of this one is uh the accuracy of the result, the precision as well, and detection of errors. And then you have your post-analytical phase. This one, or the things here, okay, are everything, or yes, everything that happens after testing. Everything that happens after testing. Okay, so example, result interpretation, like that. Okay, by the physician, result interpretation by the physician. Anyway, in the post-examination phase, it ensures results are validated, interpreted, and communicated correctly. Okay, so you have your parameters or you have variables in the examination phase. You have variables in the examination phase, patient identification. Okay, how are you going to identify the patient? You ask the patient to state their name. Okay, you ask them to state their name. If you need other identifiers, then you may do so. Okay, what else? Proper specimen collection. Proper specimen collection. Okay, proper urine collection. Okay, proper phlebotomy. Okay, and the rest. Proper sputum collection, and the rest. And then you have a correct anticoagulant or container utilized, transport conditions, and specimen acceptability criteria. Okay, is it enough or is it not? Quantity not sufficient, or whatever. And then accuracy of the request form. Okay, what are possible errors here? Of course, mislabeling. Okay, incorrect patient identification, improperly collected or contaminated sample. Okay, incorrect coagulant used instead of a blue top, you utilized a violet top. Okay, improper transport. Okay, and the rest. Improper sample prep. Okay, sample preparation also happens in the examination phase. Sample preparation happens in the examination phase. Centrifuging the sample is part of the examination phase. Centrifuging the sample, centrifuging the urine, centrifuging the whole blood to obtain plasma. Okay, falls under pre-examination variable. And then you have your examination phase. Under this, you have your variables. You have internal quality control. Okay, running your quality control, because again, please note that we run, okay, controls in the laboratory. We run. When I say run, you test. We test controls. We run controls. Ganun po. Anyway, when you say before we run the test, okay, we should make sure that uh, the machine is working properly. The okay, the machine is working properly. The reagent is not expired. Okay, not deteriorated. And then of course, the method is okay. You run internal QC. Internal QC first before you run your patient sample. If the result of the quality control is within the range, okay, if the result is within range, then you are confident, okay, you are confident that the results are reliable and accurate, that the results of the patient is accurate and reliable. Okay, what else that happens in the analytical phase? Again, okay, all, I mean, the QC should be within control before you run patient results or patient samples. Anyway, aside from that, it happens in the analytical phase, calibration and verification of the calibration, instrument maintenance, okay, reagent quality, analytical measurement range, and competency of the personnel. Competency or the personnel, okay, falls under the analytical phase or the examination phase. Okay, so microscopy or microscopic techniques or microscopic reading of a urine, microscopic reading of a gram stain, those items, microscopic reading of a PBS, those items, they fall under under the examination or analytical phase. Okay, feeding the sample into the analyzer, chemistry analyzer, that is analytic phase. Okay, that is analytic phase. Adding reagent to the sample, that is analytic phase. Adding the chromogen to the sample, that is analytic phase. What else? Okay, QC, running QC and calibration. Okay, and then you have your post-analytical phases. What we said, okay, variables here are the ones that happen after the testing process. So you have result verification, critical value reporting, report critical values. Okay, you need to report critical values. Okay, if it's too high, then you need to report. Okay, and then you have turnaround time monitoring and report formatting, as well as data storage and LIS integrity and physician communication. Okay, that is for your post-analytical or post-examination. Talking about and quality, please note that the complexity of the laboratory system requires many factors. Okay, the complexity of the laboratory system requires many factors that must be addressed to assure quality in the laboratory. And some of these factors Okay, to be addressed to assure quality in the laboratory, you have the following laboratory environment. Environment of the laboratory. Okay, the ambience, the spacing, as such. Or yes, okay, what else? Quality control procedures. This should be addressed to assure quality in the laboratory. Quality control procedures or quality control process. Frequency of the QC. Okay, communications. What else? Record keeping. Okay, record keeping. Okay, one key thing is to to document, to record everything that happens. That is actually a requirement for ISO. Kasi, ang sabi dun is, if it is not documented, it did not happen. Okay? Parang ganun kasi ang motto ng ISO. If If it is not documented, it did not happen. Kung walang black and white, hindi siya nangyari. Yun kasi ang ibig sabihin. That is why, okay, and so you keep your records. Okay, competent and knowledgeable staff. Okay, this one should be addressed. How do you know? Okay, you send your if your staff is incompetent, you send them to trainings. Okay, and good quality reagents and equipment. Good quality reagents and equipment. Please note that these are actually core. If your reagent is not of quality, okay, if your reagent is deteriorated, will you expect a quality result? Of course, no. Okay, if your equipment is damaged, will you expect a quality result? Okay, competent and knowledgeable stuff. Okay, competent. Okay, not just literate. Okay, competent. Okay, those things, those are just the few things that are needed to be uh, addressed to assure quality in the laboratory. Before we move on, let's take a look at your 12 quality systems essentials. Your 12 quality systems essentials, this is actually developed by CLSI. This is actually developed by Clinical and Laboratory Standards Institute and is compatible with the ISO standards. This one is developed by CLSI and it is compatible with ISO standards. Okay, your 12 quality systems essentials, these are a set of coordinated activities that serve as building blocks for quality management. Again, they are set of coordinated activities that serve as building blocks for quality management. And please note that each of these, each component, each of the 12, okay, here must be addressed if overall laboratory improvement is to be achieved. If you want to achieve overall quality management, okay, then you need to address all of these 12. Okay? Number one component of your quality management or your quality systems essentials is you have the organization. The organization. Accordingly, in order to have a functioning quality management system, the structure and management of the laboratory must be organized so that policies can be established and implemented. The structure and management of the laboratory must be organized so that quality policies can be implemented. Okay, it should be organized. There should be an organized management in the laboratory. Who is who is responsible for this? Who is responsible for that? Who is responsible to oversee this and this and that? Okay, and please note that uh, there must be a strong supporting organization structure. Please note that there must be a strong supporting organizational structure. to achieve, okay, uh, to achieve a functioning management system, to achieve a functioning management system. So in this case, the management commitment is crucial in achieving, okay, in achieving a quality management system. And please note that part of this, there must be a mechanism for implementation and monitoring. So first component of your 12 quality system essentials is organization. Okay, the organization of the institution. Who is the chief medtech? Who is the responsible for this section? Who is for this one? Who is for this and this and that? Okay. Anyway, you have here your personnel as the number two component of your quality system essential. Your personnel is the most important laboratory resource, or the most important laboratory resource is a competent and motivated staff. Okay, competent and motivated staff. So under this, of course, your human resources, they're actually your human resources. Okay, so your human resources will post job qualifications and job description. Okay, will the institution will provide job qualifications and job descriptions. Okay, and of course, an applicant, okay, will be assessed if he possesses the following qualifications. And then for a newly hired employee, they need to undergo orientation. This happens. Okay, orientation is required for every institution for a newly hired employee. Okay, even if the employee is a returning one. Orientation first. Okay, consider that somewhat the new employee is not so competent. Okay, orientation. After the orientation, you proceed with training, and then after the training, you do assessment. So somewhat, okay, after the training, the newly hired employee is competent. The newly hired employee is competent. Okay, so competency assessment. Okay, after that, the newly hired employee should be competent. Okay, so under personnel, there should be a professional development program for the employee. Okay, there should be a professional development program for the employee, and there should be a continuing professional education program for the employee. For the employee. Okay. What I've said earlier, you have your new employee. Okay, this is actually the process. Okay, the new employee undergoes orientation and then undergoes training. And after that, after the training, competency assessment. And yes, after the competency assessment, after all those processes, you have a competent employee. You have a competent employee accordingly. So, how are you going to assess the competency of the employee? How are you going to assess the competency of the employee? You can do observation. You can do direct observation, or you can do indirect observation. Direct observation, you directly observe. Okay, you go and directly observe. Okay, how he does the testing, or how he does collection of the patient sample. Okay, and of course there should be a checklist. Okay, the patient. Okay, there should be a checklist. Okay, proper collection technique, proper venipuncture technique. Check yes or no. Proper. Okay, centrifugation technique. Check yes or no or whatsoever. You do direct observation. Indirect observations, of course, includes monitoring of the records. Okay, monitoring of the records. Okay. Yes, monitoring of the records, testing, retesting, and case studies accordingly. Okay, you can do proficiency testing or blind sample and direct observation course testing, proficiency testing. If he passed this one, then somewhat it's okay. He's already competent. Okay, instrument function and routine checks. Okay, problem solving skills for the newly hired employee. Okay, and so those items you have indirect and direct observations. Anyhow, your equipment. That is the number three. Please note that there are many kinds of equipment that are utilized in the laboratory. And please note that each piece of equipment must be functioning properly. Each piece of equipment must be functioning properly to attain a total quality Yes, because it is part of the 12 quality systems essentials. Okay? And so the equipment, okay, or the institution should use the right equipment, install correctly the equipment, and ensure that the new equipment works properly. Okay, ensure that the new equipment works properly. And they should have a system for maintenance for all of the parts of the equipment. Okay, so there should be an equipment management program. Okay, there should be an equipment management program. So, yes, the equipment should have a well-organized equipment management program, and the program should address equipment selection, preventive maintenance, and procedures for repair and troubleshooting. Again, there should be a standardized process. Okay, there should be in ISO, in quality management system by ISO, there should be standard. Okay, meaning pare-parehas throughout dapat. Okay, that is for your quality, for your equipment. Okay, a good equipment management program helps maintain a high level of laboratory performance because there is a very low, okay, back down. Okay, there is very low equipment failures and troubleshooting. Okay, it reduces variation in test results and improves the technologist's confidence in the accuracy of the testing result. Okay, somewhat. If okay, let me give you this idea. Okay, what do you okay trust better? Okay, the machine that is that keeps on failing, that needs repair every after days, or do you want do you trust the machine that is well maintained and it does not need repair, or it does not, or repairs are done periodically? Okay, so mamili ka. Anyway, please note that good equipment management program reduces variation in test results and improves the technology's confidence and accuracy of testing. And okay, a good equipment management program lowers the repair costs uh, because fewer repairs will be needed for a well-maintained equipment. Fewer repairs will be needed for a well-maintained equipment. What else? A good equipment management program will strengthen or will lengthen the life of the instrument. It will reduce interruption of services due to breakdowns and failures. Again, it reduces interruptions of services due to breakdowns and failures and increases safety of the workers and produces greater customer satisfaction because there is a reduced okay interruption of the services. Okay, the customers do not need to wait for a relatively long time, okay, for the results. Okay, because the patients, your clients, they do not want to wait for too long. Okay, they do not want to wait for too long, and someone they do not want alibis that the machine has failed, okay, or is back down, ganyan. Okay, they do not want such. Okay, and fourth component, you have your purchasing and inventory. Okay, purchasing and inventory. Okay, please note that proper management of purchasing and inventory can produce cost savings in addition to ensuring supplies and reagents that are available when needed. Okay, so the procedures, okay, done under purchasing and inventory should be designed to ensure that all reagents and supplies are of good quality, are of good quality. And please note, okay, your aim here is to have an equipment, I mean, to have a reagent that will make that will make a continuous operations of the laboratory. Okay? Meaning, hindi dapat nawawalan ng reagent ang laboratory. Okay? There should be enough reagents. Okay? The laboratory should not run out of reagents and supplies. Okay? That is the goal of purchasing and inventory. Okay? The goal is to keep the laboratory operating or to keep the continuous operation of the laboratory. Okay? So, what are needed to be addressed? Okay, in this one, the vendor qualification, the supplies and reagents, critical services, contract review, and inventory management. Inventory management. Again, the goal of purchasing an inventory is to keep, okay, the laboratory, okay, to keep the laboratory running. I mean, to keep the laboratory operations continuous, uninterrupted. You have your process control. Your process control, this one is comprised of several factors that are important in ensuring the quality of laboratory testing processes. Okay, so the factors include quality control for testing, appropriate management of the sample, which includes collection and handling, and method verification and validation. Okay, for process control, this is the control of activities employed in handling of samples and examination processes in order to ensure accurate and reliable testing. Okay, who is involved? Of course, you have your personnel for this. Please note that the product of the laboratory is information. Okay, what information? The result. Okay, yes, the product of laboratory is information or the result. And yes, okay, information needs to be carefully managed to ensure accuracy and confidentiality. Okay, information needs to be carefully managed to ensure accuracy and confidentiality, as well as the accessibility to the laboratory staff and healthcare workers. So, your information can be managed and conveyed with either paper systems or with computers. Your manual paper-based systems or with computers utilizing the laboratory information systems. Okay, and in information management, it incorporates all the processes that is needed to effectively manage data, both incoming and outgoing patient. Okay, both incoming and outgoing patient. So in this case, there should be a policy about information management, about managing the data of both an incoming and outgoing patient information. Elements, okay, and so just few of the elements of information management. You have the patient identifiers, the name and whatsoever identifiers, the name of the patient, the address, the age, the sex or the gender, the birthday or whatsoever. Okay, and the sample identifiers, of course, if you need barcodes or if you need whatsoever. Request forms, worksheets, and of course, there should be a policy on data protection. Okay, policy on confidentiality and test result reporting systems and communication of you have your documents and records. Please note that your documents and records, the major goal of keeping documents and records is to find information whenever it is needed. And please note that it ensures, or documents and records ensures that the processes are defined, controlled, and monitored effectively. Again, it ensures that the processes are defined, controlled, and monitored effectively. Please note that your documents, they are needed in the laboratory to inform how to do things. Okay, they are needed in the laboratory to inform how to do things. And laboratories always have many documents. Please note, yes po, in the laboratory you have a lot of documents. And please note that records must be meticulously maintained so as to be accurate and accessible. So what is the difference between a document and a record? A document is a live paper. It is a live paper. And it mentions how to carry out an activity. It mentions how to carry out an activity. While your record, it is a dead paper. Okay, it is a dead paper. And these records, it mentions how the activity is carried out. Records mentions how the activity is carried out. While again, the document, it mentions how to carry out an activity. Document, it mentions how to carry out an activity. And your records, it mentions how the activity is carried out. So in this area, in records, you have an evidence of the activity. You have an evidence of the activity, and your document, what call this? In your document, objective evidence of activities that are performed. In document, it is subject to change. It can be revised. Okay, it can be revised. While your records, it is not subject to change. It is not subject to change. Your results, okay, your results, that is not subject, it is not subject to change. And approved and issued before use for the document. The documents are approved and issued before use. Like your procedures, your SOPs, they should be approved. Okay, your standard operating procedures, these are documents. And your records, they are generated and approved after the activity is over. After the activity is over. So, your document, okay, will include revisions and reviews and control, and this there should be a creation, there should be a creation date, there should be a revision and review date, and it should be controlled and distributed. And for your records, okay, these are actually collections, and yes, these are reviews, storage, and retention. So example of a document, you have your standard operating procedure. Your standard operating procedure, that is a record. I mean, that is a document. SOP is a document. And your record, that is the receiving logbook, it is actually a record. Instrument printout, it is actually a record. Okay, your what do you call this? Your worksheets, your accomplished worksheet. That is a record. Okay, those items. Your forms, they are documents. Your forms, they are documents. Okay, and please note that there should be a document control. Okay, document control to provide managing and maintaining documents. Standard operating procedure is a written, authorized, and standardized document that describes the step-by-step instructions on how to perform a specific laboratory procedure, process, or task. And please note that it is standard. It ensures that all personnel perform the activity consistently, safely, and correctly, regardless of who is on duty. Meaning, it's standardized. Dapat parehas ang ginawa mo, parehas din dapat ang ginawa niya, parehas din dapat yung ginawa niya. Regardless of the shift, regardless of the time, regardless of the personnel, okay, regardless of the patient, okay? And please note that SOPs, your standard operating procedures, these are essential tools actually in quality management. Okay, that of course it provides uniformity. Okay, it reduces variability and ensures compliance with regulatory and accreditation standards. Again, what are the purpose of your SOP? Standardization, to standardize, okay, the workflow or the procedure to ensure actually that everyone performs the same procedure or the same procedure the same way. Okay, prevent errors. Okay, it reduces variability as what we said and minimizes errors throughout the testing process. Okay, and of course complies with the regulatory, your SOP of course complies with crediting body because SOPs is required. Okay, it is required prior to the approval or prior to the issuance of license to operate. Prior to the issuance of your license to operate. Prior to the issuance of your license to operate. Please note that your SOP, it is utilized also to trace. Okay, it is also one good thing, one good method to trace. Okay, the process. Anyway, you have your occurrence management. Please note, when you say occurrence, this is an error or event that should not have happened. This is an error or event that should not have happened. And please note that a system in quality management system, there should be a system to detect these problems or occurrences. Okay, to handle them properly and to learn from mistakes and take actions so they do not happen again. Okay, in occurrence management, it deals with laboratory errors and yes, it is important in ensuring good service from the laboratory. Okay, again, there should be a system that detect problems or occurrences and how to handle them and learn from the mistakes and take actions. Okay, so what are sources of occurrence? Complaints. Complaints from, yes, sources of occurrence, complaints from your clients, from the patients. What else? Mistakes that you did. Okay, mistakes and problems. Okay, mistakes and problems. Okay, let's say for example, you did collect the wrong tube. You did collect uh you did collect not enough sample. Those are occurrences. Okay, and please note, this should be documented. Okay, this ones should be documented. Okay, because again, as a requirement for ISO, for quality, everything should be documented. Okay, document the complaints. They should be documented. Okay, they should be documented. Pen and paper. The mistakes, documented pen and paper. Okay, they should be documented. And of course, okay, sabi natin, there should be a system to detect problems or the occurrences and handle properly and then learn from the mistakes and take actions. Okay? Uh, you do a root cause analysis. You do a after you document, okay, there is a document you received, okay, and then after that you do a root cause analysis bucket. Why did that happen? Okay, and then you take immediate actions. You take immediate actions, corrective actions, and then okay, you learn from that, you implement preventive actions. Okay, corrective, and then you learn from the occurrence. To prevent the occurrence, you implement preventive actions. To prevent the occurrence, you implement preventive. Your assessment is a process or is a tool for examining laboratory performance and comparing it to standards or benchmarks or the performance of other laboratories. Assessments may be internal or maybe external. When you say internal assessment, it is performed within the laboratory using its own staff. While external assessment, it is done by a group or agency outside the laboratory. Outside the laboratory. Okay, and yes, for internal assessments include quality indicators, performance indicators. Okay, performance indicators. Okay, if your standard says 0, okay, if your standard says, what do you call this? If your standard says 0 repeat phlebotomy, or if your standard says 0 sample, if your standard says 0 sample rejection, okay, then it should be indicated in the quality indicators, audit program, and audit review, okay, especially for institutions that are, okay, accredited by ISO. External assessment, proficiency testing. Proficiency testing, this is the most common one that we encounter as a laboratorian. Proficiency testing. Okay, inspections from outside and accreditations. Okay, inspections. Okay, usually you have your DOH, your personnel from HFSRB will conduct inspection. Okay, so your process improvement. Please note that this one ensures continuous improvement of the laboratory processes. It ensures continuous improvement of the laboratory processes. And this is a proactive task of identifying, analyzing, and improving the processes. Okay, so in process improvement, please note, you look for opportunities for improve. You look for opportunities for improvement. Okay, and the sources of process improvement, the feedback of the stakeholders. Feedback of the stakeholders. Okay, that is why the customer satisfaction surveys is also one important thing for the institution to improve. Okay, stakeholders feedback. Okay, you do a risk assessment. You do a risk assessment of your institution. Okay, to improve. Okay, and yes, implement corrective action and do preventive actions. Okay, do preventive actions to avoid or to prevent occurrences. To prevent occurrences. And please note, the primary goal in quality management is continuous improvement of the laboratory processes. And this must be done in a systematic manner. And please note, there are a number of tools that are useful for process improvement. There are a number of tools, okay, that are useful for process improvement. Of course, you make use of your stakeholders' feedback. Okay, you do a risk assessment as such. Have customer service as part of the 12 quality systems essentials. Okay, your customers, okay, of course, you need to assess their needs and use customer feedback for making improvements. Or you should, as a laboratorian, you should understand who your customers are, and you should assess their needs and use customer feedback to to make improvements. And please note that if the customer is not well served, the laboratory is not achieving its primary function. The laboratory is not achieving its primary function. Okay, because of course, your laboratory, it is a service provider. Okay, it is a service provider. Yeah, and then you have your facilities and safety. Please note that laboratory workspace and facilities must be appropriate for the workload. Okay, again, laboratory workspace and facilities must be appropriate for the workload. Okay, you consider the space, uh you consider the space, you consider the number of machine present. Okay, is there enough way for the personnel to move? Okay, without touching a machine or whatsoever. Okay, that is why in in the administrative order 2021-037, it stated that there should be a business area. Also, it states there should be safety policy for both patient and for both patient and for the laboratory worker. Anyway, okay, work should be performed without compromising the quality of work and the safety of the laboratory staff. Okay, aside from that, without compromising the other healthcare personnel, patients, and the community. That is why there should be a policy, okay, addressing the safety of everyone involved in the laboratory processes. Okay, so please note that what is involved here in facilities and safety, you have your safety, your security, and your security, that is the process of preventing unwanted risks and hazards from entering the laboratory space. Okay, and safety, it includes policies and procedures to prevent harm to workers, visitors, and community. And yes, when you say containment, it minimizes risk and prevents hazards from leaving the laboratory space and causing harm to the community. Okay, the laboratory should be secure. Okay, it should be secure. It should not be open to everyone. Okay, the laboratory should be secure. It should not be open to everyone. Okay, especially the testing processes. Okay, the laboratory should be secure. And yes, it should not be open to everyone. Okay, there should be authorized personnel only. Okay, that is for the security. Security, again, is the process of preventing unwanted risks and hazards from entering the laboratory. And ergonomics, your ergonomics, this one addresses facility and equipment adaptation to allow safe and healthy working conditions at the laboratory site. Okay, that is, please note that safety is a top priority. Okay, safety should be, safety, sorry, is not only a, it is not only an obligation of the patient, but I mean obligation of the employee, but also an obligation of the employer. Okay, it is an obligation of both the employee and the employee. Okay, so you have the following again: your security, your containment, your safety, and your ergonomics. Again, your safety, okay, you prioritize your safety. You prioritize your safety if you are in the laboratory. Anyway, okay, so let's take a look at your quality control. Your quality control, please note that quality control was actually one of the first quality practices to be used in laboratories, and it continues to play a vital role in ensuring accuracy of testing still nowadays. And yes, your quality control is focused on determining errors and the examination phase, please note. And it uses control materials to monitor performance. Again, QA is under the umbrella of, QC, sorry. Quality control is under the umbrella of quality assurance. And this one is focused in or on detecting errors in the analytical or the examination phase. And please note it utilizes control materials. Okay, it utilizes control materials to monitor test performance. You have your internal and external QC. Okay, your internal QC is utilized in the monitoring of test performance. Okay, it detects random and systematic errors. And accordingly, it uses Levy-Jennings charts and Westgard rules. Okay, please note that your purpose of your quality control is to check the stability of the machine. Okay, in QC check, your QC checks will ensure that the machine are functioning within the acceptable parameter. What are examples of parameters that are being checked here? Temperature, pressure, calibration, speed, somewhat. Okay, so in this case, you are preventing to checking the stability of the machine. You're avoiding inconsistent result. You're avoiding inconsistent result. And check the quality of reagents. Okay, to avoid deteriorated reagents, which can lead to inaccurate and valid or misleading results. Because of course, we do not want inaccurate results. Okay, it will affect you. Again, releasing erroneous results will affect the outcomes of the patients. And what if the patient will sue you? Diba? What if the patient will sue you for releasing invalid or for releasing inaccurate result? Okay? Then you will have a record. And what if napatunayan na guilty ka na nag-release ng inaccurate result? Okay? And so anyway, also to check technical errors. Okay? Also to check technical errors like incorrect measurements, improper pipetting, okay, improper handling of the machine, deviations from established protocols from other established protocols. Okay, so your quality control materials. Please note that your quality control materials, they should be stable. They should be stable, or they must maintain their composition over time, even after repeated opening and storage. And they should behave like real serum. They should behave like real serum, plasma, urine, CSF, etc. Or yes, they need to mimic the actual testing conditions. They need to mimic the actual testing conditions. And the there should be an assigned values. Assigned values that will allow comparison with expected performance. Values that can either be mean, standard deviation, or coefficient of variation. And yes, your quality control materials should be available in multiple levels. They should be available in multiple levels. Okay, can be bi-level, can be tri-level QC materials. And of course, you should also consider the compatibility with the instruments. They must be validated for the specific analyzer or assay. Again, they must be validated for the specific analyzer or assay method. So you have types of QC materials. You have lyophilized, the powder form, liquid, and whatsoever. Okay, for your lyophilized, usually most of your QC materials in CC, okay, for your glucose analytes, for your AST analytes, and others for your clinical chemistry, except for Electrolytes, most of your QC materials for your CC analytes, except for your electrolytes, they are lyophilites. Okay, or yes, okay, they are lyophilites, or they are powder in powder form. Okay, they are in powder form. And yes, you need to reconstitute. Reconstitute meaning, okay, you need to make them in a liquid form. Okay? How? You need to add distilled water or whatever based on the instruction of the manufacturer. Okay? You also have liquid. Okay? Ready to use naman. But then, they are more expensive. And you have your acid and an acid. When you say an acid, the laboratory must establish its own mean and standard deviation through repeated testing. And your unacid, the manufacturer provides target values for specific methods or specific measurements. Okay, and for acid, usually for for HEMA QC materials, they are usually acid. Okay, they are usually acid QC materials. Okay, you have your quantitative QC, yes, your quantitative and your qualitative QC here. Your quantitative QC, quantitate. Okay, quantitative QC involves the use of control materials that have measurable values or concentrations. Please note. Again, quantitative QC involves the use of control materials that have measurable values or concentrations, which means that these control samples, they have a specific known amount of substance being tested. Okay, again, these control samples, they have a specific known amount of substance that is being tested. Okay, so what happens here is the laboratory measures the amount of substance present in the control material and compares it to the known value to assess accuracy and precision. Again, the laboratory measures the amount of substance present in the control and compares it with the known value to assess accuracy and precision of the test. Okay, so under quantitative QC, you have actually two programs here. You have bi-level QC and tri-level QC. Bi-level, the test control is on, or the test control at normal and abnormally high levels. Bi-level, you only have two levels. You have normal and abnormally high. Or for others, they make use of the term quantinorm or quantipath. Quantinorm and quantipath. And then you have for tri-level QC. Your tri-level QC, your tri-level QC program, the test control at abnormally low, normal, and abnormally high levels. Okay, abnormally low, normal, and abnormally high levels. This type of QC program is utilized uh for what do you call this, for analytes that have a very narrow normal values. Okay, again, for this one is utilized for analytes that have a narrow abnormal values, or for critical, okay, for critical samples. Anyway, okay, example in electrolytes, your electrolytes. Okay, they are usually tri-level. Okay, electrolytes, they are tri-level, abnormally low, normal, and abnormally high. For bi-level, most of your clinical chemistry analytes, okay, and analytes for hematology CBC, okay, they are bi-level, normal and abnormal high. Okay, and you have your qualitative. Qualitative QC involves the use of control materials where the result is observed or categorized rather than numerical. Okay, the test in qualitative QC, the test determines the presence or absence of a substance or condition. Okay, presence or absence. Qualitative QC, mostly for your test kits. Qualitative QC mostly for your test kits. If there is a band at the C control or if there is none. Ganun lang naman po siya for qualitative QC for your test kits. So let's take a look at your quality control reagents. You have calibrator and control here. Your calibrator, please note that this one is also known as your standard. It is also known as your standard. And it is the best measure of accuracy. This is the best measure of accuracy. Calibrator is a reference material with known concentration of the analyte. Calibrator again is a reference material with known concentration of the analyte. And it is used to calibrate instruments or methods. It is used to calculate the concentration of control and patient samples. Again, it is used to calibrate instruments or methods. It is used to calculate the concentration of control and patient samples. And it is used to establish reference point in the construction of a graph. Again, it is used to establish reference point in the construction of a graph. And please note, this one is used to set up measurement scale. Okay, it is used to set up measurement scale, okay, to have an assigned value. While your control here, your control is the best measure for precision. The best measure for precision. Okay? Please note that your control, these are solution that chemically and physically resemble the patient sample. Okay? Please note, solution that chemically and physically resemble the patient. And please note, these are samples or specimen with known value that is similar in composition with the patient samples. And please note that control materials these are tested in the same way as patient samples. These are tested the same way as patient samples. Please note that for your control, okay, your control materials, they should be tested daily to determine the acceptability of patient results. To determine, they should be tested daily to determine the acceptability of patient results. Okay, if your QC, if dito na po pumapasok, if pasok ang QC or hindi pasok. If hindi pasok ang QC, hindi ka pa pwedeng mag-run ng patient sample. If pasok na ang QC mo, then yes, you can already run your patient sample. Okay, so this one is used to verify that if the measurement system is working correctly after it has been calibrated. Okay, and they have expected values within a defined range. That is for your control. Okay, it physically resemble the patient sample. Okay, so please note that you have here a control chart. And please note that the main purpose of control charting in the clinical laboratory is to help in maintaining the stability of the analytical measuring system. Okay, so when the observed value falls within the control limits, okay, if they fall within this limit, then it means it is within control, meaning, okay, there is no error. Okay, there is no error. Okay, the method is performed adequately. Okay, correct performance. But then, if the observed value falls outside the control limits, then it may suggest that problems may be developing. Again, if the measured value falls here, okay, it's within the control limit. If it fell, okay, beyond or yeah, okay, they are beyond the control limit, then it suggests a problem that is developing. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look at the parameters of quality control. We will take a look at your sensitivity, reproducibility, specificity, and accuracy. Anyway, when you say sensitivity, this is the ability of an analytical method. Please note, it is the ability of an analytical method to measure the smallest concentration of the analyte of interest. And sensitivity, it represents how much of a given substance is measured. Please note that the more sensitive the test is, the smaller the amount of acid substance is measured. Or again, this is the ability to detect small amount. Okay, ability to detect small amount. And yes, this one is utilized to avoid false negatives. Sensitivity to avoid false negatives. And yes, this is utilized in early detection and screening tests. While your specificity, this is the ability of an analytical method to measure only the analyte of interest. Only the analyte of interest. So for sensitivity, it measures as low as 10 milligrams per DL. It measures as low as 0.1 milligram per DL. Ganon. For specificity, the ability to measure only the analyte of interest, excluding interferences. Okay, it excludes interferences for this one. Okay, so it represents what is being measured. Okay, please note that a high specific test or a highly specific test measures only the assay substance in question. Let's say, for example, this test is for albumin. This test is for albumin. It will only detect albumin. Okay, it will not detect other proteins. Ganun po. Okay, it will only detect the analyte that is intended, okay, for the test. Okay, so it is the ability to detect only the target. Ability to detect only the target. And yes, it avoids false positives. It avoids false positives. Okay, avoids false positive. For your specificity, it is for to confirm. Okay, it is a for confirmatory testing. Okay, for confirmatory testing. And then you have your accuracy and precision. Your accuracy, it refers to how close a measured value is to the true or accepted value. And yes, please note, it reflects the correctness of the test result. It reflects the correctness of the test result. Okay, the correctness of the test result. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. This one is actually accurate. Okay, this is accurate and this is precise. This is accurate and this is precise. But then, yes, there is such a thing as high accuracy and high precision. This one is high accuracy, okay, and high precision. There is high precision but low accuracy. Low accuracy. Please note for this image, it is high accuracy and low precision. They are somewhat close to the true value. This is at the center, that is the target or true value. Okay? If you go beyond, if you go farther, the true value, then it is not, it is low accuracy. If you go farther the true value, then it has a low accuracy. Okay, so this one, high accuracy and low precision. For this one, low accuracy and low precision. Low accuracy because the repeated value, or low precision because the repeated values, they are, okay, they are not close with each other. The values are not close with each other. And low accuracy because they are away from the target. They are away from the target. For this one, it has a high accuracy because the values obtained are near, at least near the target value, near the target value. But then low precision because, okay, the results or the values obtained are, okay, away. They are not similar. They are away with each other. Okay, that is for your accuracy and the precision. And practicability, that is a degree by which a method is easily repeated. Practicability. And reliability. That is the ability of an analytical method to maintain accuracy and precision over an extended period of time during which equipment, reagents, and personnel may change. Please note, it is the method, okay? The ones we are talking about here is the method. Ability of an analytical method to maintain accuracy and precision over an extended period of time during which equipment, reagents, and personnel may change. Again, lahat po ng binanggit natin is about the method. Okay? And yes, let's take a look at your external quality assessment scheme. Your external quality assessment scheme, please note, this is a system for objectively evaluating the performance of a clinical laboratory. Okay? And yes, it compares results with other laboratories. External quality control or proficiency testing accordingly. Proficiency testing. Okay, there is an inter-laboratory comparison. Okay, and please note it is required by the DOH. It is required by regulatory bodies. External. Please note that based on Administrative Order 2021-037, it states that there should be a program for there should be a program for quality assurance, for external quality assurance or external quality assessment. Okay, there should be a program, and it is mandated by DOH that every clinical laboratory should join NEQUAS or External Quality Assessment Scheme. Okay, they should join and they should pass. Okay, they should join and they should participate and they should dapat po pumasa. There should be a certificate saying, okay, satisfactory. Okay, please note that again, the EQUAS or External Quality Assessment Scheme is a system for objectively evaluating the performance of a clinical laboratory. Okay, so yes, your purpose of your external quality assessment scheme is to assess the laboratory accuracy to determine how close a lab's or laboratory's results are to the true value. Okay, please note it's the method. And yes, to detect bias caused by calibration issues, reagent problems, or methods determination. And please note again that external quality assessment scheme or participation in external quality assessment scheme is mandated by the Administrative Order 2021-037. And again, you should pass. Dapat po ipasa mo. Kasi kapag hindi, you should. Okay? Or yes, the pathologist, if you did not pass, the pathologist will explain it to DOH. It will explain it to DOH. The pathologist will explain it to the Department of Health. Why? Why is the result unsatisfactory? Okay, and yes, if that happens, then recommendation for training, seminars, ganon. If you failed your quality, if you failed, okay, the QAS, the External Quality Assessment Scheme. So I guess let's end here. Let's continue some other time. And this has been Gael, reminding you to live fully, love deeply, laugh often, keep learning, and never forget to enjoy the ride. And as you move forward, may you always choose curiosity over fear, kindness over convenience, and growth over comfort. Celebrate your small victories. Honor your quiet moments and trust that every step, no matter how uncertain, shapes the story you are meant to tell. The world is wide, your time is precious, and your journey is uniquely yours. So go make it extraordinary. Again, this has been Gael. Thank you. Thank you so much and see you around.